Greetings, Stars fans. This is game 49 of the 2015-2016 season for your Dallas Stars. This is the Two Brothers Mic'd Up show. If you didn't know, we sit down after each and every Dallas Stars game and we give you our thoughts and we discuss them right here for you. The Stars played the Colorado Avalanche, and just in the same fashion that we've been seeing for the past 3 seasons, the Stars fall. They get caught. It's kind of like skiing. They had a fresh sheet of powder going down the mountain, but then they hit that one little spot, that one little rough spot, and then it just brings down a whole wave of shit on top of the Stars. As each video starts, we go back to the last video. We give predictions and scores, so always stick around to the end. Quinn, you like to score a 4-3 for either side. I liked a score of 3-0 for the Stars. I figured they would take some kind of positive away from the Oilers game. And then I liked a score of 5-2 for the Avalanche because honestly, I did not have a very good feeling about this game because the Oilers game was a good game relatively for the Dallas Stars, but they didn't dispatch the Oilers in supreme fashion to where I thought, you know what, they are just going uphill nonstop from here on out. Getting the Colorado Avalanche, I think if you want to define a trap game, this has to be a trap game. Quinn, let's start off with what you saw from the beginning of the first period. How'd you like Dallas's effort, their energy? What did you like about the game?
Well, they definitely came out strong. They came out playing with a purpose. They were physical. We had physicality through all of the lines, all of the defensive lines. You see the Yanmark line doing what they do best. They're rushing the puck carriers, they're dumping it in, you're chasing. And you see Sagan and Ben, they're doing good together, much better than the past couple weeks. And then we get the penalty, and I think that's when it all just went downhill, like you said, that rough spot that just trampled them.
Yeah, the Dallas Stars are 1-7-3 against the last 11 games against the Colorado Avalanche. Now losers of 11 of 12 in the last game. 8 straight losses. Holy crap. But the way the game started doesn't really dictate that the Stars have had so much problems with the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, I wrote down in some notes that for the first 5 minutes of the game, the Stars had a ton of pressure. I mean, they were getting shots to the net. Granted, a lot of them weren't the best shots out there, but a lot of them were getting towards the net. You get a lot of those little tips and stuff like that are going past. They're making Varlamov move. We're getting kind of, inside pressure on the Colorado Avalanche, but, we're just not getting anything out of it. The Stars continue that pressure throughout the first period, but then you can see the Colorado Avalanche starting to build up that momentum that they tend to always bring against the Dallas Stars. They gave up a couple of chances. And some early observations in the game is that I saw Hemsky with the puck a lot. And what Hemsky tends to do is he tries to make that one extra move instead of just shooting the puck. Why not just make that one move, get to your spot, and then shoot? Quit trying to go to the ultimate spot to where you can probably tap one in. Just funnel everything towards the net. And the way the game ended, the Stars were doing that, but a lot of them, coming from the outside, coming from, just the off angles, a lot of shots were being blocked. But the thing about it is that the Stars were staying in there. Niemi was holding, strong. Did you like Niemi? Well, I mean, we've talked about how we think Niemi is the number one goaltender and he deserves more starts. How'd you like him at the beginning of the game?
He was definitely my number one choice for this game. I would pick him to be in that 100% of the time as of right now. Sure, Carr is a great goaltender, but he's just lacking in little couple spots here and there. Needs to find that rubber cement and start filling in those leaks, and then he can be right back up there with Niemi.
Yeah, I mean, Kari has not been great. He's let in some pretty bad goals. I mean, Niemi's no stranger to a soft goal here or there, but that early chance from Soderberg was probably my prettiest ugly save of the year so far. Just how Niemi kind of just stayed with it, even though he was out of position. He just stayed with it and dragged his leg. Granted, Soderberg could have just lifted it up a little bit, but he kind of took away a lot of the chance from Soderberg, and I thought that was a good sign for Dallas because you saw all that speed and pressure. The Stars were relatively fresh. Colorado coming off of a game the previous night against the St. Louis Blues that went all the way to the shootout. The Avalanche should be tired, but then they start Varlamov and he shuts the door. I mean, through two periods, shot attempts were 79-19. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the shots by period 10, 19, 14 for Dallas. Shots through periods for Colorado 7, 4, and 4. But yet they score in each period. Going on to the power play. What do you think is wrong with special teams, power play and penalty kill?
I think we are just too loaded up front. I mean, I feel, we have a lot of skilled players, but I think that's what our power play is right now. Skilled players, not a skilled team of players. I think they're all trying to be too passive. They're trying to pass the puck too many times. They're trying to look for that perfect play, which you want to do on the power play. But sometimes the best thing to do is just shoot the puck at the net, hope for a rebound, crash the net, and get those ugly goals. It's like Razor said, if you're going to be looking for a pretty goal against Varlamov, you're going to be looking for a little while. You need dirty, garbage goals against a goaltender like this.
Yeah, and we saw that for the Demir's goal. He crashes the net. There's a rebound, and he's able to stuff it in. Whoever is running the special teams really needs to go back in and try to rework this thing because it's not working. And if you've stuck around with the channel for a while, I went on a pretty big tirade against the drop pass. I mean, earlier in the season, it was causing this problem that we just had in this game. Now, it hasn't come back to bite him in the ass like it has earlier in the season, but I still think the drop pass is not a good strategy. Going on the Colorado goal, we see Klingberg. He's 2 steps away from the center ice. Why not just take the center line, and just dump it in? The thing is that whenever they're doing the drop pass, is that they all have speed going towards the blue line, and then they just stop because they have to, because they waste more time dropping it back for Spezza to catch the pass to make it up the ice, and then Spezza has to make a pass. He usually makes a pass towards the blue line. He hardly dumps it in. So why not in that instance? You're already almost at the red line. Just dump it in. You've already got people with speed coming. And the thing about the drop pass is you have to get it back to him quick enough because you're going to have at least one person on the puck carrier in neutral zone. Klingberg hits it with his purse, throws it back, doesn't put anything on it, and the thing is like he didn't really look to see where Spezza was. Spezza is making this huge turn around the far circle to try to build up all this speed to take the puck. And Klingberg doesn't check where he is, and it bites them in the ass, Soderberg closes the gap really fast. Spezza tries this little, dip move over, Soderberg with the puck. He catches it, just absolutely dekes out the captain, and then makes a move on Niemi. I mean, on those types of plays, what would you like to see, Quinn?
I would like, especially if they're going to be doing the drop pass, I don't think it should be done with that far apart. If they do consider doing the drop pass some more, maybe shorten the gap between Spezza and Klingberg. Maybe have Spezza like right behind Klingberg, like little spacing, so that way Klingberg can go in, and while everybody's still building speed, do a little quick drop pass to Spezza and let him just take off. That way everybody still has speed. They're all crashing in. He can make his pass. Maybe that'll work for him. Or just dump the puck like you're tied in like mini might hockey. Just dump the puck in, chase it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the dump and chase is a fundamental in hockey that you're taught at a very young age. It's a fundamental because it's shown to work. It's not an outdated strategy. This drop pass thing that this league is now, so infatuated with, it has more risks involved into it. I'm not saying it's a high risk, high reward thing, but I'm just saying there are more risks in a drop pass because I think it just kind of promotes a little bit of laziness because no one is going to be breaking hard into the zone. They're going to have to stop and wait for the person that gets the drop pass. I don't like it at all, and I think it needs to be reworked. Now, the thing about the other side of the special teams, the penalty kill was perfect tonight. And you know why? Because they didn't take any penalties, so they couldn't be hampered in that part. So that was fantastic to see that Stars were playing a relatively clean game. They tried to play Colorado straight up. They just had lapses in defense, and again, it was another game where our top pairing defenseman had a terrible game, and yet they still continued to get a ton of ice time towards the end of the game. I mean, there's not a lot of ways to say it, but the top line is causing I think the top D pair kind of lost us this game. I mean, where are your feelings on the top D pair as of right now, and what do you think needs to be done to shake things up in our defensive core?
Split them up. I've been saying it probably since game 20. I don't like these two paired together. They're two very offensive-minded defensemen, and that works when it works. But whenever you're going through your slumps and teams are starting to find out what you're going to do, how they're hammering Klingberg, two offensive-minded defensemen together are not going to work anymore. I think that either split up Jordy Ben and Yoki Paka or Oduya and Demers just for a game, try it out. Have Demers up there with Klingberg. Demers is offensive-minded, but he's more of a defensive
He's more
player.
of a stay-back kind of guy.
He'll jump into the play when it's needed. You hardly ever see Demers jumping up into the play and bite him in the ass because he knows how to time it. I feel Goligoski and Klingberg are too fixated that they have to be the catalyst for the power play or the 5-on-5 that they got going, and it's overall biting them in the ass.
And I think it would do wonders to actually split them up. I'm not sure I like the thought of splitting up Demers and Oduya. I mean, that might be the shakeup that we like, because I like that pairing. I think they are consistently the better pairing. I mean, it showed tonight with Demers with his heads up play about jumping into the power play. And the thing is that, you know, this was a special teams game. Colorado gets 10 minutes in penalties, but our first line can't get anything out of that. It was our second unit on the ice that scores. So that goes to show that it's not just the top D pair, it's the top line. Because, I mean, looking at the stats, Seguin is credited for 8 shots on net. A lot of them were good chances, but you know, he's not able to bury anything. Jamie Benn had 4 shots, but see, Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin both a -2, and you know why? Because they were on the ice for the short-handed goals. So it's that the whole first unit I mean, Lindy Ruff has shaken up the first line, the first offensive line, by bringing other people in it, but he hasn't done anything to that top D pair. And Klingberg, I feel he's starting to regress. I think that he's getting into his mind too much, and I think that showed a lot on the second shorthanded goal. He steps up and he makes a good keep, but doesn't fight for the puck after that. You know, that's the sign of a defenseman that I don't feel his mind is in the game right now. Yeah, he's playing and he's getting a ton of minutes, but right now he's becoming more of a hindrance than anything. Goligoski, he's making all sorts of terrible plays and passes. And the reason why we focus on Klingberg so much is that he got that huge contract extension. Goligoski, I think after this season, doesn't have much of a future for the Dallas Stars. So I feel he might be gone this summer, and because we have so many defensemen on our farm system that we can bring up. So shipping out Goose seems like a likely thing to do, unless we just start shipping out our farm system for picks. And right now, the Dallas Stars need a good defenseman at the trade deadline. I'll be very disappointed if the Stars feel as if this defensive pairing, all 3 lines, I feel as if I will be kind of disappointed if they continue on thinking that this is our defense that will take us, to the next level. Because right now, it's not. But, I mean, right now, it's also, our offense, we're starting to show that once we get into that slump, it's hard for us to break out. As hard as they try, it just feels like they're clutching their sticks too much. They're overthinking a lot of things. Going into the second period, third period, I mean, once the Dallas Stars score on their power play, and you see Demers get that high stick, and you see them take Colorado gets that 4-minute penalty. How'd you feel for that time before the Stars get scored on? Did you think that, okay, this is where the Stars, start making their stride? Because they had that pressure all game. Did you feel as if the Stars were going to build momentum off that?
To be honest, I'm scared when our power play goes out there now. Like I said before, we have a lot of skilled players. But all of our skilled players are on the first line. And that's the sad part, because our second line is the one that's doing the most damage in this game. Your Hemsky, your Demers, like the whole second line is the one that keeps...
Your Janmark continued to shine. Roussel was better in this game.
Like, it's starting to be sad to see that your bottom tier players on your team are starting to outshine your top players. And that's something that just can't happen.
Yeah, that's the clear definition of a slump. And I mean, right now, Lindy Ruff only has one win against the Colorado Avalanche in his tenure as the Dallas Stars head coach, and he calls the Colorado Avalanche the last hurdle. But the way that it just seems like he can't get anything out of his players against the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, like I said, Niemi only has 2 career losses against the Colorado Avalanche in his career. But yet, as soon as he gets to Dallas, he can't beat them. I honestly didn't think that it didn't matter what goalie was in net for Dallas. I honestly think that we probably would have gotten the same outcome with Lettinen. I don't really fault a lot on Niemi. Granted, he only needed to stop like 15 shots and only stopped 12, but when he gets hung out to dry with bad defensive playing, the first goal was not all that great. Can't really say much about a breakaway because, you know, it is one-on-one. But going to that second shorthanded goal, you see Klingberg over on the boards, but then you see Jason Spezza all the way on the other side too. Like, there's no gap control at all. So if someone was going to get by Klingberg and had speed, it was going to take a miracle for Spezza to even try to get to him. I mean, you playing defense, I mean, that has to be a standard no-no right there.
Yeah. Especially when you're on the power play, you see Sagan on the boards with the puck. You can almost always assume, especially with a player like Sagan, that he's going to try to make that play to the boards. You know, he loses the puck, he gets shot up off the boards. Klingberg tries to play it with his body. You know, Landeskog is there in a heartbeat, just taps it past him. And you know, I'm sitting there thinking this whole time, like, where is the other defenseman? And then you see Spezza out of nowhere coming at an angle, and it's like, was he all the way at the other boards? Like, that's why I kind of dislike having a forward on defense during the power play. But when you have somebody that can shoot the puck like they can, you know, it's an obvious choice to put him back there. But I think they need to probably run more defensive plays with those forwards if they're going to do that.
Yeah. I don't mind having the 4 offensemen out on the ice as long as they're able to understand how to do gap control on the blue line. Spezza didn't understand it on that play, and it, you know, bit them in the ass. And then I think that first shorthanded goal was just the snowball rolling down the hill. The Stars tried to stop it with the goal against on their power play, but then 4 minutes of power play and they get scored on again. I mean, after that goal, I thought the game was over right then and there. I didn't like how the Stars responded to that goal. It was a bad night for the top D pair. You know, the Stars were having chances. That's the positive out of it, but they weren't getting anything out of it. I think it was said during the program, they were being too dainty and not enough grit. They were trying too many moves. You know, just funnel towards the net, and good things can happen. Going into the third period, we see the goal off of a Jokipaka turnover. So it wasn't just the top D pair. It was also The Yoki-Paka, Lindell, I thought they had a pretty rough game too. You saw Lindell get beat a couple of times, especially in the first period. You can tell he's very green and very fresh. With that Niemi save on Soderberg, Lindell kind of just got beat straight up on it. But then Girigorenko, or however you say his name, you see him breaking in, and it's off of a Yoki-Paka turnover. But then again, there's Spezza right there. And he doesn't take any kind of initiative to really put pressure on him. He stays on the outside of him instead of trying to take the inside. He's cutting to the net. He's putting pressure on the net. Separate him from the puck. Not try to... When he's on the right side of him, I don't understand what kind of defensive positioning that... I mean, do you have any idea what he was trying to do on the outside of him instead of on the inside?
Not at all.
I mean, I'm just not sure what Jason Spezza's game was today. It was pretty bad, and he only had one shot on goal. He had a lot of misses, a lot of glass. Sagan, he had a lot of glass. Jamie Benn had a lot of glass. I mean, just a lot of misses. Varlamov, obviously the player of the match. He comes in, beats the Stars per usual. Surprising that Matt Duchene wasn't really a factor in this game. He usually kills the Stars.
I think he had that one chance and
he had
shot it wide.
Yeah, and then Tanguay followed up on another chance and then shot it wide as well. But it was good to see Matt Duchene not score, because that's usually a star killer right there. But Landeskog, he scored on shorthanded, so that was like his 7th goal against the Dallas Stars in his career. So he's becoming a real big star killer. Overall, I'm not sure how the Stars didn't use the Oilers game as a stepping stone. I'm not sure how someone can justify any kind of positivity out of this game. What positives, if you can name any, do you take out of this game? And what were the negatives? Because the next game, we got the Flames, and we haven't beaten them yet.
I think the chances that they were getting, that's always good to see, They may not have been burying them, but just starting the chance and giving the team a shot to get something in, that's always a positive. I say it every game, Janmark. I think this kid's going to turn into something really great for this team.
I see him as a Yuri Lettinen type player.
Because his speed allows him to get to the offensive zone. And, when we have those breakdowns, his speed allows him to get back. And he's a good two-way forward. He plays defensively well. He plays in the offensive zone, He does it all.
And what are the negatives that you take away from this?
Defense. Just straight, utter defense. Like, this team's got to figure something out.
Yeah. No, I agree. Positives. I think I'm going to rate the shot attempts and the shot total as a positive and negative. You can take it as a positive as the Stars are waking up and they're trying to funnel things, but also you can take it as a negative as saying they're putting all these shots against but aren't getting anything out of it. So that kind of discourages a player whenever, if they can't score on 8 shots, they're going to start overthinking things again. When you beat a team like the Oilers in the fashion that you did, you have to take the step to bring it into the next game. don't take 5 steps back, because as of right now, the St. Louis Blues have a game tonight against, I think it's the Blackhawks. If the St. Louis Blues win, they jump us in the standings. The Stars in this slump, in this week, have a potential to be jumped twice in the standings. And that's going to put us third in the standings. Now, third is still a good position, but once you've been in first for as long as you have, but then you've hit this huge slump where you only won 2 games in January, to start losing positions in the standings, that's also going to be discouraging. I find that as a big negative, so I'm going to be watching the St. Louis score and seeing how that goes. Let's go into the ratings of this game. What rating did you give this one?
You know, it started out as I'd say probably like a C+ in the first period. But once everything started unfolding, this easily moved down to a D.
Yeah, I finished with a D. You don't get any kind of moral victory in this one. Like, who honestly really gives a shit that they almost put up 50 shots against Colorado? That's only good if you win like 7-2 or something like that. Like, no one cares that you almost had 50 shots and you only got 1 goal. And then you stop the team to only 15 shots, but they score 3 times. That's what's going to stand out. Not your 50 shots. It's the 15 against you and you giving up 3. So it's a D. That's it. Going into the next game, the Stars play the Calgary Flames in Game 50. What kind of scores do you have in that one?
Well, hopefully, we see some changes on defense. Maybe just even splitting up Klingberg and Goligoski. I hope to see that. I hope to see some changes on the power play. Maybe not load up the first power play so much. Get some gritty players in there. Like, keep Patrick Eaves out there. Maybe move Jason Spezza to the second power play unit. And if the Stars win, I like a score of 2-1, but I feel like it'll be overtime. And if Calgary wins, I think it's going to be a blowout, and I think it's going to be 4-0.
Wow. So, you think that
basically, if the
Stars aren't really going to learn from this game, is what you're kind of putting out there. Okay.
I hope that I'm wrong, but the trend as of right now in January, it's more moving to me being right.
If the Stars win, I like a score of... Oh, man. I like a score of 3-2. I think it'll be a tight, low-scoring game. I mean, the first 2 games, the Stars lost against the Calgary Flames, once in overtime and once in regulation. Calgary has always put in that effort against the Stars this season, and I don't expect them to not have that effort again. If they don't bring it, I'll be surprised. But I still think that the Stars will have the Avalanche game in their head going into the Flames game. And if the Flames win, I like a score of 3-1. So, that's the discussion. Be sure to like, subscribe, share wherever you would like. Leave any kind of feedback below. Remember, this is a show for fans, by fans. We are Dallas diehards, and we love talking about them to anybody and everybody. So help us grow this into something you'd like to watch all the time. And, as always, tune in next time.